So as we do get started, just a friendly reminder, please have pen and paper ready to take notes. This will be interactive in some parts, right? So make sure you do have some room available, right? You can move your arms left and right. You got some clear space. You're not going to bump into anything. You're not going to hurt yourself. Grab any water, tea that you need right now as we do get into this. As for Dean is going to be dropping some really important information that I want to make sure every one of you gets down to the core, right? Because this is life-changing information that can impact you forever, right? Forever. This could be something that could help you fix your sciatica today, tomorrow, next week, next month. We want to find and make sure you are pain-free moving forward. Okay. So if that's loud and clear, just drop a yes in the chat. I want to make sure everyone has that. Perfect. Okay. So just a few things we're going to be covering as well. We'll be diving into the new Stanford University, some of the stuff that Dean has went into, but we're also going to be diving into previous practices. That's going to be the main part of it. The previous practices Dean has been recommending, some exercises, also some methodologies and mindsets that are going to help you actually become pain-free, right? And aim towards that. So let's make sure we're paying attention, making sure we're focused. And at the end of this workshop as well, for those of you who are new here and for those of you who are existing clients as well, we do have an offer available for you that could help you out extremely with your sciatica. So even if right now maybe you're in the hospital, maybe you're struggling with sciatica, maybe you cannot get out of bed, or maybe it's just something that's striking once or twice a week, we have a custom offer that we want to apply to every one of you and see if we can help you. So make sure you do stay to the end so you can hear this as well. And if you are a previous client, I'm sure you'll be very excited to hear about some of the news. And if you have not worked with us, we want to make sure we can give you a custom tailored solution here for you to make sure you get all the advice and help you do need. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome on Dean Volk. He has been specialized in sciatica for the last 35 years and practicing the last 35 years and then going into it for the last 15 on specialization. So I'm going to pass it over to Dean here.
Thank you, Mr. Rakas. Can you guys see me and hear me? There we go. Yes. Thank you very much. I just wanted to welcome everybody. It is great to be here. Have had a wild last week as I was getting certified to become an empowered relief instructor. I got certified through Stanford University, so I partnered with them. It is actually a program that they began years ago, and it is now, I saw somebody said that they were, I think it was Candy from Cleveland. The Cleveland Clinic uses it. Mass General uses it. The VA uses it. How many of you have heard of CBT, Cognitive Behavioral Therapy? It's like an 8 to 10 session standardized with a psychologist to work on pain. Have you guys heard of that? Because what they've done now is with this empowered relief, and I wish I could share it all with you right now, but honestly, I am limited by the copyright and the trademark of empowered relief through Stanford University right now, that I can't give you all the information. I wish I could, but there's a standard way that I have to deliver it, and I can't do it over an hour workshop, but it can be done over a 2-hour webinar, which we will be getting into here in the future. So what it is basically is we are retraining your brain away from pain. And they have done randomized studies, and proven that this 2-hour webinar and workshop is just as effective as the CBT, the cognitive behavioral therapy training that psychologists and psychotherapists do with their clients. And it shows that at 6 months after the course, the results are still just equal to, if not better, than CBT. So I'm excited to be able to offer this, because we all know that when you are dealing with pain, it is not just necessarily a physical pain. It deals with your emotions. It deals with your mental acuity and how you can think. And what this does, it trains your brain away from pain in several different ways that I will be training you in if you so desire. And if you're interested, we will get you signed up and you will learn more about that in the near future. So just wanted you to know that I am now a certified empowered relief instructor, and it's going to be phenomenal in conjunction with the programs that we already have going, because we want to beat this pain physically and mentally and emotionally, and we can do that now. So What are we going to cover today in this webinar? A little bit more on the empowered relief, but overall, we want to talk about what is sciatica, what is the typical sciatica client's journey, why you are not getting the relief that you deserve and you need. Want to talk about the new approach to seeing sciatica in a different way and actually finding healing and relief instead of just doing the same things over and over again, being frustrated and not getting anywhere. Then what we're going to do, we're going to talk about a simple activity, or we're going to do a simple activity or a movement just to show you how my overall approach works so that you can have sort of a taste, sort of a teaser, but it's a taste of how simple it can be to start to balance out your body in order for you to get the pain relief that you need and deserve. Okay? When I'm done, you're going to hear more from Vikas. He went on a journey and dealt with pain for a while until we bumped into each other, started working together, and lo and behold, his back issues are now a thing of the past. And then we're going to give a free offer just to those of you who are here and are listening. So what I'm going to attempt to do right now is to share my screen and do it in a way that is going to show you, whoops, we are too many slides already. All right, so I've recently partnered with Stanford University to become a certified empowered relief instructor. Basically, it is a 1-session, a 2-hour session of intervention that rapidly equips you with effective pain relief skills, and it is called Empowered Relief. You can look it up online. There are, I think, 1,000 instructors, if I remember correctly, and it's been going on for years. And as I said, the research on it is absolutely amazing. So I want to start with something that a client of mine posted in the Facebook group once. Her name is Carrie Johnston. She was dealing with some sciatica as a result of a fall with piriformis syndrome and some gluteal issues. So she writes, sciatica is an odd thing. I did the same thing before I discovered this group and Dean, but so many people do the things that that have not helped them in the past, but they do them again and again anyway. Stretching the bad side, taking painkillers, grinding a tennis ball into the painful side, going to chiropractors every week for years, going to the emergency room, getting injections that do nothing or offer only temporary relief, acupuncture, going for surgery after surgery, etc. Basically, she covered it all with that. She said, maybe there's no one solution for everyone, but the one thing that finally ended the cycle of never-ending pain for me was finding this group and following Dean's advice. I'm back to running 10K runs, sitting all day with no pain, etc. I have a neighbor friend who's been suffering from terrible sciatica for years, and he knows that I have been fully recovered and pain-free for more than 3 years, and not once has he ever taken me up on my offer to explain what worked for me. And I think this is pretty common for a lot of people. You sort of get comfortable in the condition you're in, and more so you get comfortable in the treatment that you're doing, and you're afraid to try to do anything else because you're fearing that things are going to get worse. And hey, legitimate fear. I am not knocking anybody for having that type of fear, but don't let the fear of changing things up and doing things from a different perspective keep you from getting you the relief that you deserve. Okay, it's not worth it. So the definition of insanity from Mr. Albert Einstein, kind of a smart guy. The definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results. So if you are one of those people who are stuck in the cycle of pain and doing the same things over and over again, no matter what it is, no matter if you're obeying your doctor or your therapist or your chiropractor or your trainer, and you are not seeing results, and I mean results in 3 to 5 sessions with somebody, and the results meaning that the pain intensity is coming down, or maybe it's taking longer for the onset of pain to hit, or any type of noticeable change or improvement from your perspective, it may be time for you to move on and change the things that you are doing. All right. So what exactly is sciatica? A lot of people just are not familiar with it. I get a lot of people saying, hey, I don't have any back pain, so how can it be sciatica if it's coming from my back? So let's just get this straight. Sciatica is basically a generic term, and it means any irritation of your sciatic nerve. Simply stated, anything that aggravates a sciatic nerve, whether it's a bone touching it, whether it's inflammation compressing it, whether it's a disc poking on it, whether it's a joint that's compressing it, a tendon that's squeezing it, any inflammation that's compressing it, anything that can aggravate your sciatic nerve can be diagnosed as sciatica. And you guys have all felt those pains, aches, tingling, numbness, burning, anywhere from your low back all the way down to your toes. It can be continuous, it can be spotty, but anyway, that's what sciatica is. And what I'm going to be doing is showing you here that the sciatic nerve is made up of nerve roots from L4, 5, S1, S2, and S3. You can see them coming out of your back like this. Okay? So the spinal nerve roots L4, 5, S1, S2, and S3 come together, and you can see here the thickness. The sciatic nerve is the thickest and the longest nerve in the body. You can see how it comes together in that mid-butt area and in very close proximity to that piriformis muscle that so many people get diagnosed as having piriformis syndrome, and it most of the time is not, but we're not going to get into that right now. But the sciatic nerve travels down the back of the leg, splits into two nerves, the common fibular nerve, which wraps around to the front of the shin and down the front of the leg, and the tibial nerve, which goes right down the back of the calf, both of those going into the foot. So your sciatica can hinder and be aggravated anywhere from these nerve roots all the way down to the tips of your toes. What I'm going to do next is go through a typical sciatica journey of not only my clients, but anybody's clients who has had and dealt with sciatica people, because this rings true to so many people. All right, so we start off, you start Googling and YouTubing, what is sciatica? What are those exercises? What can I do to stop this pain? So you go, then you wind up going to a doctor or primary care physician, depending on where you are and what they're called. And they might do some x-rays the first visit. They're definitely going to give you some medications and maybe an exercise handout for generic exercises that you can do for your sciatica. Now that x-ray is probably not going to show much. It might show a little bit of degeneration, which is common and normal for anybody over 35 years old. And then if what they do after you come back in 2 weeks, if things didn't work, they might change up the medications, maybe send you to PT. Then if that doesn't work, hey, you know what? Now it's time for an MRI, because we've qualified you now, because most insurance companies need some physical therapy before they do an MRI. And I'm going to tell you right now, most MRIs are a waste of people's times, just simply because there's so much that goes on in an MRI. And so many times people are comfortable when they lay on their back, or what they lay on their back with their legs elevated, that during the MRI, that when they get the results and say, hey, here's the reason for your pain, it's kind of wild, because if you didn't have pain in the MRI, how can what you're seeing on that scan show you what's causing your pain? Because you didn't have pain in the MRI. Okay? Ortho and a neuro referral, depending on what the MRI shows and how your symptoms are going. Then they're trying to determine, all right, is it really coming from your back? Is it piriformis syndrome? Is it coming from your hip? Is it coming from your SI joint? Then you go back and forth between specialists who are telling you it's probably not for me, it's for them. I don't know how many of you have gone through this, but it's very, very typical. You're going back and forth between specialists, you're changing medications, you may be getting some injections, and then the specialist will say, hey, why don't you go to my PT, because they're better than what you went to before. And you wind up getting more of the same generic stuff. So then you go to a chiropractor, try some massage, maybe yoga, maybe some Pilates, some acupuncture, cupping, myofascial release, Rolfing, the Egoscue method. And then you also try those miracle creams, you know, the Icy Hots, or the things from China, the Tiger Balm, foam roller, TENS. Does any of this sound familiar to any of you? And for the most part, everyone is always focused on that painful area. Okay? They're working on that painful area, thinking if we can just calm down that painful area by digging on it, stretching it, exercising it, everything will calm down. And they never look at any other parts of your body for relief. Okay? So all these treatments have probably left you feeling a little bit depressed, confused, overwhelmed. Does this sound familiar to any of you? Frustrated, fed up, worn out, angry, hopeless, helpless, and discouraged. Okay, I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this. Then to add to this, how many people have thrown into the mix what their family member said, what a friend said? Here's this trick that worked for me, from a patch to a gel to a cream to some funky drink made up of who knows what type of elements that I have heard over and over again. All right. So you get diagnoses such as, well, you've got some spondylolisthesis or retrolisthesis or stenosis or some bulging disc, maybe a herniated disc, some hip bursitis, an ischial bursitis, some piriformis syndrome, SI joint dysfunction, so many different things that it can be. So what we need to do is figure out what is really going on. Why is it that all these treatments that we're getting done to us are not helping us in any way, shape, or form? And I can tell you why you are not getting the relief that you deserve or need. It's because what is being done to you and the treatment approach that has been taken for you is the same treatment approach that hasn't worked for hundreds and thousands of people before you. But it's the standard of care. It's getting you that pain medication, the muscle relaxant, the anti-inflammatory, or giving you an injection. All these things are Band-Aid approaches. They don't touch the underlying problem. The doctors oftentimes don't even know what the underlying problem is. And honestly, the underlying problem always responds to when you balance out your body. Because here's what is happening. When your body has tightness, stiffness, soreness, pain, anything out of the ordinary, your body is going to compensate for itself, which is going to cause things to get out of balance, which is going to stress and strain the areas of the underlying problem, which is going to keep it from healing. So how many of you, I'm going to try to share my screen again. How many of you have seen exercises that look like this? The press-up exercises, the most popular exercise out there for sciatica. If you've ever been on YouTube, most people say you've got to do these Mackenzie extension exercises, whether you're doing press-ups from the floor or against the wall or just leaning backwards. That is the #1 exercise that I see people given for sciatica. Or you've got to stretch out your piriformis and butt muscles, or you've got to rotate side to side laying on your back, or the bridging to try to stabilize your stomach, because the stronger you get your stomach, the less pain you're going to have. Or how about the dreaded nerve flossing or nerve gliding, where you're taking that irritated, tight nerve and saying, hey, if we just move you a little bit, that's going to feel better. But you, as well as I know, that does not happen. Or how about the hamstring stretch? You've got to pull and stretch that painful muscle so that you can stretch it out and relax it. But why is taking something tight, stiff, and sore going to get less tight, stiff, and sore by pulling it tighter? It just doesn't make sense. All right. How about the old cat-camel? Stretching your back up, stretching it down. Guess what? One of those movements is probably great for you. The other one is probably aggravating you. And then you always have the ones where you're standing and you're going side to side. And oftentimes, people wind up getting generic handouts from their doctors. How many people have seen these? I basically went onto Google and typed in generic sciatica exercises, and these are the types of things I saw. There's nothing wrong with these exercises specifically, but if you don't know what is going to work and what is not going to work for you, trying to do these exercises can actually aggravate you further. So generic exercises are not the answer for 95% of people. There are some people who go, hey, you know what? I did a couple press-ups and boom, I felt great. Awesome for you. That's not the norm. I want to be able to give you things that are going to help 95 to 98% of you, not 10 to 15%. So how many of you have tried the medications, the radiofrequency ablations, the injections, and even surgeries? And most of the times, those are often temporary Band-Aid approaches. Does that all sound familiar? How many of you have gone on with sciatica for years and the episodes become closer and closer and more intense and longer lasting, and you're just not finding that long-term sustainable relief that you deserve and that is easily attended to? Sharon Weber, years and years, I'm so sorry. So what I'm going to explain to you is a new approach that is going to be new to you, but something that I've been doing for the past 16 years and working on it, tweaking it, and perfecting it so that I get about a 97% success rate with clients who actually follow through. So let's think of it like this. Let's think of your sciatica as a wound, okay? If I had a big gash on my arm and it was open and it was irritated and it was painful, how many of you think it would be wise for me to dig on it and stretch it and poke on it? How many of you are digging, poking on, and stretching your sciatic nerve, your hamstring, your butt muscle because of the pain? Let me ask you, what is the difference between that wound and you digging and poking and aggravating it and your sciatic nerve that you're digging and poking on it? You don't want to aggravate something that's already aggravated, because what happens is when you create more pain, your body's even going to compensate more. When your body compensates, you have this pulling here, extra tension on the wound on the arm or the wound from your sciatica or your sciatic nerve being the wound, and you're just going to keep aggravating it and aggravating it and aggravating it. So instead of focusing on the painful area, the irritated area, the problematic area, what we teach you is how to find the imbalances in your body caused by the way your body's compensating, and we teach you how to fix them. So, like I said, I'm really excited to add this empowered relief to my programs, and I'm going to be offering that for people who are in my groups. But just think about it. If we can take care of the mental aspect of pain and retrain the brain, and there have been studies to show that you can actually change the way your brain conducts its electricity and areas and the neurons and the way your brain is shaped and the patterns in your brain by working away from pain. And that's what we teach you in the Empowered Relief Program. But if we can fix both that mental and emotional aspect, which are all in the brain, along with the physical imbalances in your body, we are not only going to see a better result than 95 to 97 that I'm getting already, but you are going to feel more comfortable because you are going to be able to take control of how to mentally calm down your pain, how to physically calm down your pain. And guess what's going to happen? As pain calms down and your body gets balanced, your body will heal. And it's actually going to change the way your brain patterns also. Because the brain is awesome at neuroplasticity, meaning it can change depending on what environment it is, depending on what you're thinking, depending on what you're focusing on. So once we get your body balanced and you're feeling better, that is when we start the stabilization process, because we don't want to stabilize you when your body is imbalanced. Because when your body is imbalanced, and I'm not saying I'm saying I am imbalanced, out of balanced, and we try to stabilize you, we're just going to hold you in the position and hold you in that compensated position that's causing the imbalances and the tension and the stress that's causing the problem already. Does that make sense? So once we stabilize you and strengthen you in that balanced position, then we get you going back to doing your normal activities that you couldn't do before, slowly and steadily. And we don't want you to just say, hey, you want to get back to the gym, you go and do a half-hour workout and you haven't been working out in weeks. That's not wise, because if you do multiple things at a time and then you flare up, we're not going to be able to know, all right, what is the trigger? What's the problem area? And we want to be able to nail the problem areas so that we can avoid those or teach you a different way to do those while your body heals. Does that make sense? All right. What we're going to do is one simple little activity. And I don't care if you're sitting down, standing up, or laying down. If you're sitting or standing, all you're going to do is I want you to cross your arms over your chest like this. And I want you to twist as far as you can to your right side, and then as far as you can to your left side. Stop at any pain, no please, okay? No pain allowed with my exercises. If you're lying down, go ahead and bend your knees so that your feet are flat on the bed. You're going to drop your knees to one side, drop your knees to the other. So I'm going to ask you, and it looks like how many people? There's about 20 people on, 22 people on. What I want you to do is to tell me yes or no in the chat. Did you find an imbalance one side versus the other? Was one side easier to turn to? Does one side feel what they call yummy compared to icky on the other side? Was there an imbalance? If there was an imbalance, please put Y or yes. If you were totally balanced and everything felt perfectly equal on both sides, put an N or a no in the chat if you would, so I can see that we're all on the same page. Yes. Christine White, no. Yes. All right. No, no, no. Hey. Oh, some of these people are clients who actually know this exercise. All right. Most of the time, there's going to be an imbalance. And if there wasn't, I can teach you how to force yourself into one direction or the other. You actually get a tingling feeling when you turn. Both ways or just one way. Okay. So if you felt balanced, here's what I want you to do. I want you to try to twist as far as you can. And then if you're seated, grab your chair and force yourself as far as you can one direction, and then force yourself as far as you can the other direction. And for you who said no, you were balanced, tell me now, were you balanced, or was there definitely an easier direction, right side versus left? And this is just a sample exercise. Some of you may be balanced and still experiencing pain, and that's totally normal. All right, Shonda, listen up, because when you find an imbalance, so Candy and Shonda and Kathy, when you find an imbalance, what I want you to do, remember how what most people tell you to do is that when you have something that's tight, stiff, and sore, we want to tighten it, stretch it more. We're going to do the exact opposite. So what I want the people to do who had an imbalance is I want you to twist to the side that didn't cause the tingling, or for you that were imbalanced and didn't have tingling, turn to the side that felt looser, more comfortable, and less restricted. And let's have you do that nice and slowly 15 times, unless you start getting pain. If you start getting pain, you stop right away. All right, so Shonda, you're going the opposite direction of the pain. Ellen, you're going to the opposite direction of the pain. So everybody do 2 sets of 15 to the direction that was the most comfortable. That was more comfortable, sorry, we're dealing with 2. So the more comfortable side, the less restricted side, the easier side. Go ahead and do 2 sets of 15 for me. All right, that should be enough time. Now for all of those of you who had a imbalance, what I want you to do 1 to 2 times, I want you to twist to the side that you just did not work, the side that was more restricted, the side that felt painful, the side that caused the tingling, and tell me, yes, it felt better, or no, it felt the same. So you can put Y or N. Did it feel better? After Ellen's, I'm going to start looking at the chat here. So just tell me if it felt better or felt more comfortable or felt more balanced than the first time. Please put a Y. Otherwise, put an N. Okay? Yes. Yes. No for Genia. Okay? Yes. Same. Most of the time, if we're doing this correctly, you will find an improvement. And don't be discouraged if you didn't, because obviously, like I said, I'm just pulling one movement out of a hat. This may be the most balanced for you. This may be your most stubborn one that won't get back into balance until the last. But here's what I know is over the past 16 years, as I have been using this approach, I have helped 97% of my clients. Before I started using this approach, I was at about a 15 to 20%. But just let me tell you that this approach has had phenomenal success. I had no idea when I started a Facebook group back in 2018 that I was going to sell my PT practices and just do this full-time online. I had no idea of the need. I had no idea it was possible to even do this online. But since I took my practice online and have become an online consultant for people all over the world, the improvement in people has skyrocketed when they follow the program, it's a holistic program for sustained relief long term. We talk about breathing exercises, we talk about writing exercises, we do functional movements. We do so much more than just exercise or just do a couple motions, because we realize your whole body has to be involved in this healing. So I'm going to turn it back over to Vikas, who has some things that he wants to talk about, maybe tell a little bit about his journey before he tells you what we have to offer for you guys. But thanks for joining me. Please don't feel discouraged if just doing the twist did not make any major difference in your life, because it's more likely than not that it doesn't make a major difference, but it's the steady progression and steady activity and repetition and going through all the different movements and activities and putting it all together that makes the biggest difference. So Vikas.
All right, you guys can hear me, right? Perfect. Now I'm gonna have to hold one of my speakers up to my ear here because the other speaker just did not seem to work, but I'm gonna have my headphones off here for a sec. So really important thing here I want to share with you guys is how Dean and I first met. Now, what was interesting was I had actually suffered with back pain severely to a debilitating point. Like I was hospitalized, I was in the bed. Essentially, my entire life was thrown away. I had nothing left. I was super active before, but after a really bad car accident, a bunch of MRIs, CT scans, checkings, everything, nothing was working. I was told that the back pain would last a lifetime. I had to get used to it. And I was told by multiple doctors and specialists, no matter who I saw, they said, it's just going to be part of it. Go do some physio, kinesiology, all that stuff, right? And I'm sure maybe you guys have heard that story before. Like, have you guys been told that before? Where, hey, it's going to be like this for the rest of your life, and maybe you got to learn to cope with it, or maybe try these steroid injections, or maybe try these medications. This might help you, but for some reason, it just ends up being a loop. Have you been in that situation? Just let me know in the chat there. Just drop a yes or a no. And maybe some of you are actually hospitalized right now where you just feel stuck with sciatica and there's nowhere to go. Now, that was the most frustrating thing for me. Now, one of the cool parts about the Stanford thing that I sort of saw more of was just it teaches you a lot about the mental side of it and how to beat it. Now, this is one of the cool things with Dean's offer is with using what he had. Not only was I able to recover in less than 8 weeks fully, I was able to go back to the gym and deadlift. I was able to go back to running, to hiking, to living my life. And only then, when I fully recovered, when I fully saw what life could actually be like, I realized how much I was truly suffering. I didn't realize how bad sciatica had taken, or back pain, everything had taken a hold of my life. It theoretically would have destroyed me had I not done anything. And thanks to Dean, right, and learning all this core stuff, I was able to change a lot. Now, that's one of the big things we want to do for you guys. Now, for those of you who are already partnered up with Dean, who have already worked with Dean, awesome. We're going to fire over a personal email to you to thank you for working with us as well. And we will send over the special offer via email, okay? So I will go ahead and check the list of registrations, and we will send you a personal email for that, just know. But for those of you who aren't with Dean, who haven't worked with Dean, just put a yes in the chat below so I'm aware. Who maybe haven't experienced too much of it. I just want to share a little bit more of what that would look like. Would that be okay? Perfect. Okay. So one of the key things that we were working on with Dean was finding a way to really be different from the medical system, because I was tired of seeing people being passed from person to person, from doctor to doctor, from steroid medication to different medications to doctors, just sort of weaning you off and saying they'll get to you shortly, but they never really do. It's the same repeat pattern time and time and time again, and it wastes your most valuable resource, time. That's something, doesn't matter how wealthy you are, you can't get that back. Doesn't matter how strong you are, it's something you can't claw back. Doesn't matter how persuasive you are, it's not something you can call back. Time is something that constantly fades, and it's something that we always lose. But we don't have to lose it all to pain. We don't have to lose it all to depression. We don't have to lose it all to endless trainings that may or may not help us. The main thing we can do now is find a way to get the time back and live a life where we feel pain-free. Now, that's our actual main goal. So For those of you who do want to get started with us and you're actually not working with us, I'm going to drop a link below in the chat. Okay. This is a personal calendar where you can speak with Dean, our lead advisor, as well, Colton. Now, these two individuals are actually going to sit with you personally one on one. Now, keep in mind, this is for people who have not signed up with Dean. For those of you who have already signed up with Dean, I'll send you a separate email. But if you haven't, this is for you. I want you to click this link and I want you to book a call with us. We're going to dive into a deep strategy to find a way to find you the relief. Now, for those of you who may have just joined again, we are actually going to send out the link again right here. You can go ahead and book a call with us. We're going to sit with you, find a strategy to find a way to make you pain-free from your sciatica. Now, these are going to be custom plans. Some of the plans are going to range different from one-on-one coaching with Dean and potentially the coaches, and some of it is going to be self-guided because that's what you need, right? So again, there's not going to be a one-size-fits-all. It's always custom. So we want to understand your story, hear where you're at, and then present solutions as well. Now, a very important thing that we're only going to do for a very, very limited time only as well is the Stanford offer, right? The Stanford course that Dean had been certified in. We're actually going to include that for free if you do purchase one of our packages that we do present to you at the end of the call to see if it's something that you need. We're going to include it there as well because the general pricing for that, is generally about $500 a session for that. We will include that for free if you do decide to move forward with one of our packages that we consult you on, if it does make sense, right? Because again, we only want to give you something and advise you on something if we do know it's going to help you. And if it's not, we're going to let you know at the end of the call and be like, hey, you know what? Maybe try these exercises. Maybe we can't help you. But again, we've helped over 3,000 clients with a 98% success rate with dealing with their sciatica. There have been patients like myself who have been bedridden, who have been told that they can never live a normal life, who have been told they must live with that forever. Even clients who have just been, struggling picking up a piece of bread. We've helped all ranges of people. So today we want to do the same and find a way to help you become pain-free forever, right? So go ahead and click the link. If you can't read the calendar, we can give you a hand as well. I'll personally send you an email as well there, Candy. I dropped you that as well. And go ahead and book a call with us because we want to find a way to support you the best way we can to make sure you get all the relief you need. And for those of you who already are with Dean, again, I'm going to email you a personalized link as well, where we can actually offer this to you at a discounted rate because you've already worked with us. So we're going to give you a go ahead and a discounted rate for that as well. If you do want to sign up for the Stanford course as well that we do have available. Again, we only have limited spots to book the call. So if you can, make sure you book the call now by clicking the link below. That way you can speak with one of our advisors so we can find the best way to support you through and through.